organic. Hey, how are you? Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm so excited that you accepted my invitation. You are just amazing. I've been following you on LinkedIn for, I don't know, a little over a year now. I really don't know how long, but anyways, it's been more than a couple months, and I just love how you can combine your legal background with life coaching and everything else. Like, you just have all these different things. And I feel like sometimes in the legal industry, we kind of like focus just on law. Like, that's it. That's all we're made out of. Like, we have nothing else, right? We have no life outside of the legal industry. And this is it. We're not going to do anything else but this. So can you talk about how that dynamic, I guess, evolved, right? Because that's something that's always been in you. But how did that come into like fruition?
Being a life coach and being a lawyer. Yeah, so I first started my business right after I passed the bar, because I decided that I can't just do one thing for the rest of my life. And I was trying to decide, okay, what exactly can I run a business on, because I don't know the first thing about business. And so I was just watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and one of the videos was talking about how you can find your passion in your pain. And so I decided, oh, like at that point, my pain was my mental and physical health as a result of being an immigrant. And so I was able to overcome that kind of pain through exercise at that time. And so, oh, why not be certified in personal training? And so I got certified, and I just walked into a gym and said, hire me, and worked with a bunch of clients. I loved working with lawyers. And so when I moved away from the gym, I decided to work exclusively with lawyers. And when I started working with them, I realized that they wanted to kind of get coaching outside of just personal training, like holistic approach to their whole lives. And so that got me into life coaching ultimately.
Wow, so that's like our organic growth. I mean, that's kind of similar to my story of how we started as an LLC and evolved as to what we are today. It just evolves organically. So can you tell us a little bit of what you do with the attorneys and why it was so specific to attorneys versus any other industry? Like, what do you see are the differences?
Yeah, so when I decided to serve lawyers exclusively, it wasn't because they necessarily had a unique problem apart from other professionals. It was just that we identified in a way that was common. And so that was just the starting point of, because it's not really the nature of the problems that make us different. It's about creating space that feels safe. And for us to feel safe, we need to be able to feel like we are talking to somebody who understands what we're going through. And so that's really the first reason that I decided to work with lawyers.
I love it. Do you actually practice law, by the way? Are you a practicing attorney or are you okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
I am currently practicing as well.
Oh, wow. So you probably find that in your colleagues too, like, come here, I want to tell you something.
Yeah, I want them to know that it's possible to run a business, have a great position, and do whatever else they want to do.
Actually, and aside from all of that, given the obvious, well, maybe from this angle we can't notice, but you are currently pregnant and you have already a child, a young child. So how are you doing all of this, right? Because a lot of people see, the hard work and the efforts that come into running all these different types of, I guess, selves of our, like just versions of ourselves. Because especially as a mom, I can definitely relate on that angle, but sometimes they don't see that. Maybe for me anyway, it's not really a balance. It's focusing on the right thing at the right time. But is that something similar to you, or how do you manage all of that?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I think it's because of the assumption that it's because of the assumption that we can't do it because it's not done commonly, that you don't do multiple things at the same time. But for me, it was a very uh, certain possibility for me because I saw so many examples of other entrepreneurs doing multiple things and running multiple businesses, having multiple interests and passions. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. So I
Mm.
think rather than like a question of like, okay, how do you do all of those things? It's about really surrounding yourself with examples that you look up to who are making it look easy, and being able to just, first of all, entertain the possibility that it's possible for you and it's easy for you too.
Yeah, and I think liking it, right? Also, right? Because you have to love or like what you do and enjoy it. I think sometimes the mundane of it all, especially in the legal industry, it can get pretty repetitive. It can get pretty task oriented with the deadlines and everything like that. And I feel like that's where we lose in translation a lot of the ambition and motivation that came when we first started in the industry. But then, like, when I coach paralegals that have been in it for like 20 years, I've noticed that at the end it's like, well, now what do I do? I've done it all. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, you can tap into so many other things. There's so much other possibilities out there for you, especially with a certain set of skills that you've established throughout the years. I don't know, what is your take on that?
About the mundane stuff?
Yeah.
So I think that, like, I would just get very curious about it. Like, what is it that you think is mundane? Why? Like, when did you start thinking that way, and what is it about those tasks that make it, and how is it affecting everything else?
Yeah.
And so I think it's hard to generalize that everybody is experiencing something that is mundane. And so I think it's about, like, being willing to kind of get curious and feel whatever feelings that come up and creating space for that.
Yeah, so asking the right questions to yourself as well, and creating that. I think it's also about perspective, the way you look at things, the way you view things, the way you react to situations, has a lot to do with the, your current reality. And I always say that to my, my people. I like to call them my people.
Yeah, absolutely. They're your people.
Yeah, that's right. So it was an awesome chat. I know you have to go, so it was short and sweet, but I love it. And I appreciate you carving out some time for us at the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. And I wish you nothing but more success. And of course, I'm going to continue following you and enjoying your posts and enjoying everything that you have to offer to our community. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.